Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here, the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube platform. And it's already another Thursday. It's March the 9th, and I'm so thankful to be here. I'm glad about spending this time, these 1800 seconds, with so many of you all who continue to be encouraging and motivating to me. So thank you all for that. This channel is about inspiration. It's about motivation. It's about challenging ourselves to show up better tomorrow than we did today. It's also about looking at today to see if we showed up better today than we did yesterday. I always say this. It's not about putting down any day. It's not about saying that there was failure in any day. It's just making sure that we are deliberate. When we get together and spend this time together, it's making sure that we are deliberate and intentional about self-examination. That's what it is. This is not judgment. This is not about castigating anybody. It's not berating anybody, but it's about self-examination to make sure that I've done the best I can to make sure that I show up my best self, even in the worst of situations. How are you all doing with that? How many of you all are having challenging situations, but you are finding it easier to show up as your best self in the worst of situations? I'm hopeful that these conversations will take root in our lives. I'm hopeful that they will somehow become a guiding factor. I'm hopeful that they will somehow help us to develop a mantra about how we handle life, because I've discovered that it's better to handle life than to let life handle you. I could just stay there and going on and on talking about that, but you have got to develop some sort of mantra about how you handle life, how you respond to life, how you respond to all of those vicissitudes, those changing dynamics of life, because life, as I said before, is filled with swift transitions, so many changes, and we've got to be on guard. We've got to be prepared for the changes that are coming our way, because changes occur every single day. And it is my hope that a part of our conversation will take root in our heart, will take root in our lives, will take root in our souls, so that we are equipped and ready to handle life, as opposed to just letting life handle us. Don't live passively. Just don't live passively and let life just go by and let life just handle you. But you learn how to sometimes take the bull by both horns and handle life. So this dialogue that we share, it's about inspiring us, it's about motivating us, and it is about challenging us again to be our best selves, even in the worst of situations. So you all let me know how you're doing with that guiding principle. I want to thank you all for continuing to show up as you do every Tuesday and Thursday. I thank you all for spending these 1800 seconds with me. So I'm not going to waste much more of your time, but let me do a shout out to those who are in the chat rooms. Those of you who beat me in the chat, do me a favor, come on over in the chat and let me see you. I see that you all are logging in. I see that you're signing on. So do me a favor, if you will, come on over in the chat, say hi, at least so that I will know you're there. Even if you don't feel like chatting, at least chat long enough with me to say hi. Hey, go and invite somebody else and tell them to come on, Let's Talk to Cutler. And if they haven't subscribed, encourage them, subscribe, click on the subscribe, and then click on the notification bell so you will know whenever I've gone live and whenever I've uploaded new content. I want to see you all. So come, so come on over and let's build this community as we are doing. I want to give a shout out to Lynn Gardner, who says, hello, everyone. Annie Cutler, who says, let's ride. Get aboard. McDiner, who says, good evening, all. And good evening to all of you all. Let's ride. Yes. And hello to all of you all as well. You all, I want to talk about how to recognize emotional maturity. But before I do, I want to read a poem that I promised that I would read in our last conversation. I promised that I would read a conversation about how to handle life and just be careful with life, because we talked about how to make sure that you create a path for someone else to follow. Make sure that you are really becoming a trailblazer and that you're forging a road that others can follow. And we want to make sure that we do our best with life. Make sure that we're that we are cognizant of the fact that other people are watching. Make sure that we are good stewards of the lives that come into our lives. It was that kind of conversation that we had, making sure that we are creating a path for others to follow. And one of the things that I suggested to us as we went off the air Tuesday was that just we need to just be careful with life. Be careful how we handle life, because as we're handling life, you all, again, let's make sure that life is not handling us, but as we are handling life, we're handling other people's lives. We're impacting, influencing, and having an imprint in other people's lives. So I suggest and I admonish us all just to be careful with how we do that. So if you don't mind, I do want to share this poem. It's called Just Be Careful. It is in my, I don't know which book this is. Sequentially, I don't know which book it is, but it's in the book where the title is Thoughts Keep Flowing. So it's in this book. And I know my mother would probably tell me which book it is. I think it's the third. It's the second book that I wrote, I believe. Let me see when I wrote this, you all. I'm looking back to see when I wrote these books. Would you all believe I wrote this book almost 20 years ago? Wow. I wrote this book almost 20 years ago. Thoughts Keep Flowing. Well, let me read you this poem because, again, it is about making sure that we are good stewards over the lives that come into our lives. So let's see. Let me take a look and see who's here. Right. It is the second book. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Please pray for my friend Sandra. Her son was tragically killed last night. He was hit by a car walking across the street on his way home. Oh, Tracy, you know, that pierces my heart. Wow. Yeah, that really pierces my heart. I will make sure that I say a special prayer for Sandra. I will, this evening in my prayers, call her name. So please let your friend Sandra know that those of us who come together in this space, those of us who come together in this circle, that some of us will be diligent and fervent in praying for her. So please let her know that I can speak for me and say that I would definitely call her name in prayer this evening. All right. So let me McDina, I'm laughing at your comment. When I said I wrote this almost 20 years ago, you said, so you wrote it at 1 year old. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I was far from 1 year old when I wrote this. You all do know I'm almost 60, right? You know, I'm almost 60. I'm closer to 60 than I am to 55. I'll say that. Is that right? Oh, wow. Well, I'm closer to 60 than I am to 50, but yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, I am closer to 60 than I am to 55. Good grief. But I'm thankful for every year. I really, really am. But I want to share this poem with you all. It's called Just Be Careful. Be careful with your life that you don't cause humanity any hurt or shame, or that you're never too quick to offer judgment or lay blame. Be careful with your life that you don't love others so much until you hate yourself, or that you search for riches and lose sight of true wealth. Be careful with your life that you don't become blind to the magic of a new day, or that in your search for pleasure, you let peace slip away. Be careful with your life that you don't live too much for then and miss out on the now, or that you're more concerned with the regal stand instead of a humble bow. Be careful with your life that you don't let confusion or negativity crowd your mind, or that you let being foolish distract you from being kind. Be careful with your life, for it soon comes to an end. Be careful that you make all creation your friend. Wow. I can't believe that I wrote that, McDina, when I was just 1 year old. Wow. When I wrote that, I had the strong sense of mortality. knowing that, and how, Tracy, how ironic it is that I read this poem and you tell me about your friend's son. I when I wrote that, I had a strong sense of mortality, and knowing that, I also had a strong sense of responsibility. I had a strong sense of accountability to people who were in my life. I had a strong sense of trying to connect to people. I had a strong sense, even then. Thank you, Linda Martin. Thank you, cousin. Even then, I had a strong sense of making sure that I did my level best with the time that I have. Um, I had lost at the time two very good friends, and it struck me that none of us come here to stay. But I wanted to be my best self, and at least I wanted to be aware of the need to become my best self. And that was about introspection for me. It wasn't about anybody else, but it was about what Cutler needed to do. And I realized that that life was fragile, life was delicate, and life was not always long. So I wanted to make sure that how I handled life was very carefully. I wanted to respect time. I wanted to respect humanity. So I discovered or so I reflected in that piece, the need to handle life gently and delicately and respectfully. So that was the backdrop to that piece. Be careful with your life, for it soon comes to an end. And be careful that you make all creation your friend. And that is without judgment. Uh, that is without judgment. That is without discrimination. That is just making sure that you embrace all humanity and that you make all creation your friend. So that's what that piece was about. You notice, as a writer, I guess I can say as a poet, you go back to that time and space when you start reading what you wrote. You go back emotionally and psychologically and mentally and sometimes even physically to that place and that space where you were when you wrote that. And I have to tell you all that I really just uh, I made that transfer in time just for a few moments while I was reading that. But thank you for allowing me to share that. And speaking of going back to that place emotionally, I want to talk this evening about how to recognize emotional maturity. And can I tell you all the reason I want to talk about how to recognize emotional maturity? Because I realize that a lot of times our biggest frustrations with people, and you all tell me if I'm on track here, our biggest frustrations with people come about because most of the times the people that frustrate us, we will in our minds, we look at them and we think, they are not emotionally mature. How many of us will confess that there are people we've dealt with and we continue to deal with sometimes people, and we know they aren't emotionally mature? We know it, but for some reason we keep them in our space. For some reason we keep them out in our circle. Sometimes I know it's about iron sharpening iron and trying to lift and pull people up and push them up and all that sort of thing. But a lot of times the people that we have dealt with who frustrated us the most are people who are not emotionally mature. Because one of the things that we know about emotional maturity is it gives you the ability to manage your emotions. We don't fly off the handle. When you're emotionally mature, you don't fly off the handle with every wind that comes along, with everything that upsets you. You learn how to settle yourself and plant your feet and stay firm. You might rock to the side, from side to side just a little, but everything doesn't unroot you. Everything does not completely transport you from one place to another, but it is about managing your emotions. Many of the people that we deal with, many of the people who frustrate us, you all, are people who we would probably deem as not emotionally mature. Because when you are emotionally mature, you have this level of self-understanding as it pertains to your thoughts and your behaviors. And then you decide what's best and how you cope with the situation. That's what emotional maturity is all about. So if I had to define it, it is a level of understanding where you are aware of your thoughts and you're aware of your behaviors. And because you are aware of your thoughts and behaviors, then you make a conscious decision about how to best approach and cope with situations. That's emotional maturity, you all. And it is not static. Can I say that? Emotional maturity is not static. You don't reach it and that's it. But it is always a work in progress. The same way we reach physical maturity. And then, of course, when we reach physical maturity, we seem to just level off there. But the difference with emotional maturity is that it's always active, it's always a work in progress. It's not as if you just reach this one level of super emotional maturity and you stay there and you remain static. But it's about moving forward. It's about being dynamic. It's about having this awareness of what you bring to the table emotionally. How many of you all would say that you are completely aware of your emotions and in charge of how you respond when you're emotionally? On a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you? How good are you at controlling your behavior when you are emotional? On a scale of 1 to 10, you all talk to me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at controlling your behavior when you are emotional? 1 is not so good. 10 is exceptional. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you all talk to me. How good are you at controlling your behavior when you are emotional? And I'll come back and look at the numbers. I just want to get some sort of response from you all to see how you are, how good you are at that. But I want to talk about the fact, that not everyone is always able to be so successful with managing their actions and reactions when they are emotional. So I want to see what you all are saying. And then I want to talk about, I see these numbers popping in. Y'all keep popping them in. Let's see. Because listen, what happens on this platform stays on this platform, of course, until other people go and check the replay out. But I want us to be honest with each other, because I believe if we're going to be better than we are, we have to do an honest assessment of how and where we see ourselves. So the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at maintaining your behavior, controlling your behavior when you are emotional? Always be learning and growing. I give myself 8.5, then there's an 8, and there's a 4, there's a 7.5, there's an 8, there's 8, there's 8. But so let's talk about, and the others of you, please go ahead and populate that. Let's talk about the signs of emotional maturity, because maybe we just need to see if we possess the signs, or if we have the wherewithal, if we have the signs within us, or we sense that we have the signs, but we just don't execute the signs. And let's see if we recognize it in other people. I think one of the greatest pieces of being emotionally mature is being flexible. Because emotionally mature people, they think things out. They think things out, and they come up with a plan B if they have to. They come up with a plan C if they need to. Because it's easy to assume that things are going to go well and things are going to go smoothly, probably because of the track record, probably because of they've gone so well in the past. But sometimes life happens, and life would throw you a curveball. And then all of a sudden you are caught in a spiral, and you have to decide, you caught in a quandary, and you have to decide, how am I going to respond in this situation? What's going to be my outcome? What do I do next? Because what I was expecting did not manifest. It didn't show up. So emotionally mature people are flexible people. When things don't work out the way they thought, they come up with a plan B, or even if they have to, a plan C. They learn how to still move forward, even though there's a bump in the road. They just don't let the bump in the road ruin the day. Sometimes, we let one bump in the road. We let one bump in the road ruin our day. But can I tell you, don't let one bump in the road ruin your day. Learn how to drive around it. When you see that pothole, drive around it. And even if you drive in the pothole and your tire goes flat and it bends your axle, just go to the service station, go to the car, go have your car serviced, but keep on moving. Just drop it off and have them to repair it, pick up an Uber, pick up a Lyft, and keep moving. We got to keep moving. We have to learn to keep moving forward, and don't let this one bump stop you. Don't let it ruin your entire day. Don't let it ruin your entire day. Learn how to be flexible. Sometimes we are paralyzed by one thing that goes off track. One thing that goes off track, you all, and we are paralyzed. But I empower us, I encourage us to learn how to be flexible. And you say to yourself, that's not going to ruin my day. It's not. That's not who I am. I'm greater than that. I'm stronger than that. I am so above that. And you don't let it ruin your day. I've run into so many people who they go through life and they go through a day, and out of the 24 hours, they encounter one thing, and that one thing ruins their entire day. And not only does it ruin their entire day, it ruins their entire week. And they don't care how they interact with people. So all of a sudden now they become sour lemons, and it doesn't matter that people see me sour. I'm fine with people seeing me sour because this is just how I am now. And they're all out of sorts, and they don't care who knows it. But I respect people more than that. I care about people more than that. Just because I had a bad day, I don't want your day to become a bad day. Just because I had a bad moment in a good day, I don't want your day ruined. I don't want your week ruined. I am concerned about that. I'm concerned about the impact that my behavior has on other people. That's one reason I try to be flexible. And when I have a moment, I steal away and I go off to myself. Lynn, I totally understand. Some days are better than others. It depends on the situation. I totally understand. McDina, I'm with you all the way to plan Z. Absolutely. Come on, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. Tracy says, yes, I try to take a moment and think about it instead of going off on someone. And I'm sure the someone's appreciate it, Tracy. But it's important. We have to respect other people's lives to the extent that we don't want to ruin their day, or we don't want to cast a negative ripple in their day. So not only are emotionally mature people flexible, but we also, because I'll say that I'm emotionally mature, we learn how to take ownership and responsibility. What does that mean, Cutler? It means that you are able to own up to your own mistakes. Something goes wrong and you're at fault. You learn how to own up to your mistake. And you don't point fingers and you don't cast aspersions and you don't lay blame. I made the mistake. It's my mistake. I can fix it. I can try to fix it when I own up to the fact that it's mine. But if I cast it on you and I lay blame on you and I say it's your mistake, I can't fix what's yours. So emotionally mature people own up. We take ownership and responsibility. And then what do? We look for an answer. We look for an answer. Emotionally mature people by nature look for answers. They look for resolutions. They look for ways to solve the problem. I wish this was the platform when I could just clap and give hearts, because Lynn, you're right. Sometimes that bump flattened my tire and it takes me a moment to put air back in my tire, but I can start back rolling. That's right, my friend. That's right, my sister. Sometimes we do have to take a reprieve. So you all know, as I often say here, no judgment. This is a no judgment zone. Sometimes when life happens and that pothole in the road flattens our tire, you got to take a moment, steal away. And not just put air back in your tire, but sometimes to exhale and then inhale and put air back into your soul. I get that. But at least you say, I'm good enough to start rolling again. But again, so we learn how to take ownership and responsibility. And then here's something else that emotionally mature people, this is a surefire sign of emotional maturity, you all. We know that we don't know everything. We know that we don't know everything. Can I tell you all this? And this is just me being transparent. This is me being honest. When I was younger, and I think I may have been in high school at the time, I was an academically gifted young man, and I was studious, and I excelled academically. But there were people who said things to me like this: you think you know everything. I didn't think I knew everything. And it made me uncomfortable sometimes. And it made me resent being academically gifted sometimes. And so I paused and I put a pin in the conversation, because you all know that I am always an advocate for the youth. I'm always an advocate for the children, for young folk. And so I want to say to us, stop saying things like that to them. You think you know everything. Because when you say that to a young person, You cause them to cower in their giftedness. You cause them to somehow not want to shine and become the shining stars that they are. You throw a damper over the light that God has put in their lives. Stop saying that to young people. You think you know everything. No, they don't. Celebrate their excellence when they're young. People can mess you up. Listen, I'm telling you all. So my having this conversation with you all comes from years of having to hear and to heal and to work these things out. People can do a number on you. And these were older people. You think you know everything. But can I say this to you, that emotionally mature people don't think they know. As a matter of fact, they know they don't know everything. They know that. And guess what? They know that their own way of doing things may not always be the best way. They know that their own way of doing things may not necessarily be the right way. But they try to come up with a way. And they don't argue just to be right or just to show how smart they are, how dominant they are, how excellent they are. They don't do that just but they keep an open mind. Thank you, Tracy. I can see you being gifted. And there were sometimes, I got to go back to it, Tracy, there were some times that I was challenged in being gifted. And but for my mother's love and encouragement, there were days when I almost wished that I was not as academically gifted as I was. Because I didn't like the fact that people said to me, you think you know everything. Let's not do that. Let's not do the lineage that you say that's powerful. I have a lot of memories from childhood. As adults, we can most certainly learn something from young folks. Juanita, we can. We can. And I think if we are concerned with how we handle them, we learn even more. That's why I think teaching is my gift. That's why I've done it for so many years. And that's why when I teach, I don't teach just to affect their lives, but I teach them as if I'm pouring into a younger version of me. I do for them what I wish someone would have done for me. I take the time to handle them like I wish someone else would have handled me. I care for them like I wish someone else would have cared for me, walking into a classroom, walking away from in different settings. But again, with emotional maturity, no, we don't think we know everything. We're open to other ways. We recognize that our way is not the best way. My goodness, where does the time go when we get engrossed in conversations like this? But this is about emotional maturity. I'm talking about it because a lot of times we realize that the people who get on our last nerves, the people who frustrate us, the people who give us anxiety and high blood pressure are the people who are not emotionally mature. And here's my challenge for us tonight, you all. Let's learn to recognize those people, but more important, let's learn not to become those people who are not emotionally mature. Because not only do emotionally mature people they recognize that they don't know everything, but they look for learning and growth from every opportunity. I just may need to call it quits here, but emotionally mature people, so I'm just going to stop. I'm not quitting. I'm just going to stop for the night and cut this off and we'll pick it up again. But emotionally mature people, you all, they look for learning and growth from every opportunity. Always on the lookout. What can I learn from this situation? How can I grow from this? It may not be the best situation, but there's some lesson that I can glean. There's some lesson that I can learn. What can I learn from this situation? That is a sign of emotional maturity. So I just want to recap what I've talked about this evening, and then I'll pick it up again the next time we get together. It's about how do we recognize emotional maturity, because we understand emotional maturity is about understanding how to manage your emotions. Emotional maturity is making sure that you understand that your thoughts, you understand and you recognize your thoughts and behaviors, and then you make the decision how to cope with situations. It's about making sure that you have a plan A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. It's about being flexible. It's about making sure that you know how to take ownership and responsibility. It's about making sure that you know that you don't know everything, but you don't cast dispersions either on people. And it's making sure that you learn how to look for learning and growth opportunities in every situation. What can I learn from this? This is not a situation that's so good, but some good can come out of it. What can I learn from this? This is a situation that has me feeling downtrodden and cast out, but what can I learn from this? This is a situation that caused me a little setback emotionally and physically, and sometimes financially and mentally and all that. It caused me a little setback, but what can I learn? What can I learn? How can I learn and how can I grow from this? That's what an emotionally person is always asking. Paula D, you're right. We have to be open because young folks can show us a different perspective. Absolutely. I think I shared with y'all some time ago that my grandmother, although she has Alzheimer's now and she's not as conversational as she once was, one of the things that she said to me, she was in her 90s, and she said, "Baby, you're never too old to learn." And I thought, how profound is that? Someone in their 90s saying you're never too old to learn. But it is so true. How can I learn from this? How can I grow? I'm in the IT field. I say never say you know everything because time changed it. Absolutely. It's just about the dynamics. It's about the dynamics of life. So you all, thank you all so much. Let's see. Let me see if I've missed anything. I think I've caught all the conversations. Yes. I've caught all the conversations. Thank you all for spending this time with me. Thank you all for allowing me to offer what I hope are some nuggets that will cause us to examine ourselves, will help us to examine our behavior, help us to recognize the behavior in others. But more importantly, it will strengthen our lives. It will give us a mantra. It will give us these nuggets that will give us some guiding forces for our lives. All right. I'm so thankful for this opportunity because I look inside and I say, okay, Cutler, you're handling that, but make sure that you do better. Make sure that you do better. So thank you for these 1,800 seconds. You all do me a favor. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Stay safe, stay sane, keep your heads up. Listen, keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. Don't let emotionally immature people get on your nerves. All right. You all have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you all the next time we get together. And know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. You all make sure you have a good night. And the next time, tell somebody, come on and let's talk to Cutler. Good night, everybody.